God gives everyone free will. You cannot force them. That's manipulation when you keep trying to push. We never wanted to control anybody to do anything. We said, make your choice before the Lord. We will go our way. And honestly, it's a very conscious choice they've made.
What happens when the people closest to the truth stay silent? For years, Rachel and Rebecca remained in the background as their family faced a growing crisis. But behind the scenes, Rebecca reportedly told police she believed the man at the center of the allegations, her own sister's husband, was guilty. That private statement revealed deep divisions within the family and raised difficult questions about loyalty, accountability, and justice. How did years of silence shape what followed? And what does it reveal about the cost of protecting a ministry during its darkest moments? The Quiet Sister's Secret. Rebecca Lamb Weiss remained publicly silent amid one of the most turbulent scandals to grip her family and ministry. While accusations flew and investigations unfolded, she maintained her role at Daystar, appearing on air and drawing her salary without uttering a word about what she believed had happened. To the outside world, her silence seemed to place her in alignment with her mother and sister, who openly defended their family's reputation. Behind that quiet exterior, however, a far different story was unfolding. A private conviction that would only come to light years later. In a police interview recorded on January 16, 2025, Rebecca made a startling admission. Her initial thought, when she heard allegations against Josh Brown, her sister Rachel's husband, was that he had indeed done something wrong. This confession cut deeply against the public narrative that dismissed the claims as falsehoods or power plays. What made this moment even more significant was Rebecca's connection to the family and the ministry, standing silently while publicly supporting the institution that was renouncing her brother Jonathan's allegations. The timing of Rebecca's police interview is critical. It came 4 months before her mother Joni Lamb's death and shortly after Jonathan's firing from Daystar. Despite the escalating family conflict, Rebecca's voice was absent from public discourse until she and her husband, J.W. Weiss, walked voluntarily into the Colleyville Police Department. Their decision to speak was prompted not by confrontation, but by increased media attention and mounting public pressure surrounding the investigation. Rebecca's hesitation to speak publicly reflects the complexity of her position. She was one of the youngest Lamb siblings, drawing the least attention, yet holding an intimate understanding of the family's inner turmoil. Her role at Daystar, earning $100,000 a year and contributing as a podcaster, placed her at the heart of the ministry, too close to ignore, too involved to openly challenge. The interview kind of revealed this thing the public had never really seen before. Rebecca's gut reaction, when she first heard about the alleged abuse, was basically that she believed it was true. And it wasn't like a sudden moment either. It was more like years of watching family habits and how people move around each other. She even mentioned a private letter written by her husband, J.W. Weiss, in 2021, and that letter was about concerns that Sylvia Gonzalez, the Lamb family housekeeper, raised. Rebecca's account also made it clear that her belief wasn't some rushed conclusion. It came after careful deliberation, and it was strongly shaped by specific corroborating details she trusted that were coming from inside that family circle. She said that if Josh Brown was actually behaving in abusive ways, then he should be held to account, not because of external noise or pressure, but for the sake of their young niece, baby Lamb. This emphasis on the child's well-being is what makes the whole situation feel so personal, because the stakes were immediate, and keeping silent wasn't something she could maintain comfortably. Her choice to stay quiet publicly, while she privately believed something was wrong, creates this painful, tangled tension between loyalty, fear, and the pull toward justice. It shows this gap between what people acknowledged in private and what got sheltered in public. For anyone watching from outside the family, it turns into this confusing and heartbreaking picture, like two different realities were happening at once. Rebecca's quiet complicity at Daystar, while still holding those private doubts, is a key piece of the puzzle. It suggests the public storyline was only part of the truth, almost like a thin facade put up to protect an institution and a handful of family members, even while others kept quietly wrestling with what it all meant inside. This conflict within the family was only deepened by the divisions that tore through their relationships, exposing rifts that went far beyond public accusations. Family divided by allegations. The allegations against Josh Brown did more than shock a family. They split it down the middle. Rachel Lamb Brown, Josh's wife and Rebecca's sister, was a prominent defender of her husband and her mother, Joni Lamb, standing firmly on their side throughout the crisis. Her public loyalty contrasted sharply with Rebecca's private doubts, illustrating how fractured familial ties had become under the weight of suspicion and denial. Such opposing stances created an environment of deep mistrust and emotional estrangement. Rachel's role within Daystar as Director of Communications, earning nearly $200,000 annually, tethered her to the heart of the institution's official narrative.
Rebecca is Joni Lamb's daughter. JW is a Daystar producer who also handles the network's estate planning work. Different men, different families connected to this story in completely different ways.
Her alignment with her mother, who publicly dismissed Jonathan's claims, reinforced a united front that presented the allegations as baseless attacks. Yet behind that unity lurked an uncomfortable silence about what Rebecca had confided to police, a belief that Josh Brown was involved in wrongdoing. This divergence forced the family into a painful paradox. Two sisters, bound by blood and shared history, essentially stood on opposite sides of a scandal implicating Rachel's husband. The tension this created was not just personal. It reverberated through the institution they both served. Their simultaneous presence at family funerals and memorials, avoiding mention of Jonathan by name, revealed the complexity and fragility of their relationships. While Rachel remained publicly loyal to her mother and husband, Rebecca's quiet contemplation seemed to hover beneath the surface, never fully expressed, until persistent journalistic investigation and legal inquiry pushed her to finally speak. This dual reality reflects the complicated nature of family loyalty, where truth, protection, and denial often collide. The fractures didn't stay only in personal relationships. They also touched the ministry dynamics themselves, splitting employees, donors, and followers in the same breath. With no clear shared voices to anchor what was happening, it became difficult for observers to sort out facts from these defensive stories, and that kind of mist just kept feeding confusion in the community Daystar served. Rachel still being in the ministry's top ranks after all of this adds yet another wrinkle. On one hand, the accusations and the public investigations made Josh Brown look bad, but he was never charged, and he passed several polygraph tests, which really points to the gap between what people assumed and what the legal record actually says. Still, Rebecca held on to the belief that he was guilty, and that stance was captured on official police video, so the underlying friction stayed unresolved even after formal clearance. Those family divisions raised sharp questions for anyone close by. How do you try to hold love and trust steady when allegations threaten to erode the whole foundation? And how do you balance loyalty to people with loyalty to truth, without one side steamrolling the other? The answers were not straightforward, and they were never really said out loud in a way the public could confirm. This split within the family also showed how institutional power and personal relationships can braid together, shaping who gets shielded and who gets shut down. It shows up pretty plainly in the observations from people who worked near the family day after day. The only witness to these private tensions who dared to speak out was someone with a particularly revealing perspective: the family's longtime housekeeper. The housekeeper's observations. Sylvia Gonzalez worked as the Lamb family housekeeper, a position that offered her a unique, intimate view into the family's private life and the tensions simmering beneath the surface. At the August 2021 Daystar Executive Retreat in Florida, the same event tied to allegations involving baby Lamb and Josh Brown, Gonzalez witnessed moments that she later recounted with notable clarity. Her observations became crucial pieces of evidence, quietly shaping the understanding of what occurred. Despite her willingness to share, Gonzalez lived in constant fear of losing her job by speaking out. Official police notes reveal that she was primarily afraid of Joni Lamb, the matriarch who wielded significant influence over her livelihood. This fear kept Gonzalez silent about what she saw for years, revealing how institutional power can suppress even direct witnesses to uncomfortable truths. One moment she detailed was particularly telling. After the incident upstairs, Josh Brown was the only person not present at breakfast. coming downstairs afterward alone. Though seemingly small, this detail stayed with Gonzalez and was captured years later in a letter written by J.W. Weiss, Rebecca's husband, who interviewed her shortly after the retreat. This letter, unbeknownst to the public until police interviews in 2025, documented concerns based on Gonzalez's account and formed a key piece of Rebecca's belief in the allegations. Her private conviction was not isolated. It was informed by testimony from someone with first-hand experience. Gonzalez's fear of retribution exemplifies how institutional control can extend beyond public relations into personal intimidation. It is not the result of conspiracies or secret schemes, but the natural power dynamic between employer and employee, where speaking out can mean losing essential income and security. That the housekeeper's testimony could be suppressed for years, all while Daystar publicly branded Jonathan Lamb's allegations as a smear campaign, exposes a stark contrast between the institution's outward stance and the private reality within its walls. When police detective Nick Garcia finally reassured Gonzalez, she confirmed her observations in a formal interview. Her courage, delayed but crucial, added layers to the investigation and challenged the official narrative that many had accepted without question. This reluctant witness highlights the difficult position of those caught between loyalty and truth, fear and justice, inside powerful families and institutions. Her story sets the stage for understanding the full complexity of this heartbreaking saga and the walls of silence that had to fall. This tale of silence, power, and fractured loyalties would deepen further as investigations stalled under the weight of secrecy and fear. The investigation and its roadblocks. The investigation began after Jonathan and Susie Lamb reported allegations connected to an August 2021 family retreat in Florida. Although their daughter had reportedly made an earlier disclosure in November 2020, the case remained stalled because she never provided a formal statement directly to law enforcement. Without that testimony, investigators said they lacked enough information to move forward.
Jonathan and Susie reported it to police that same day. She stopped talking about what had happened altogether. A child who won't talk to investigators leaves investigators with nothing to build on.
Detective Nick Garcia documented that the case produced few new leads for years. Renewed attention came in November 2024, when a journalist from the Roy's Report contacted police with questions. After the story became public, additional people reportedly encouraged authorities to continue examining the allegations. In January 2025, Garcia attempted to contact Rebecca Lamb Weiss and her husband, J.W. Weiss, at their home, but received no answer. 6 days later, on January 16th, the couple voluntarily appeared at the police station for an interview. Their cooperation became an important turning point. After years of silence, key family members were finally speaking directly with investigators. Still, major obstacles remained. The absence of a formal statement from the child limited what police could legally pursue. Fear, family loyalty, media pressure, and concern for the ministry's reputation further complicated the process, leaving investigators and the public with unresolved questions. The extended timeline also sort of shows how the institution reacted. Like, in real time, Daystar publicly called Jonathan's allegations a smear campaign, and behind closed doors, lots of notable measures were taken against him. His firing happened pretty fast in November 2024, basically one day after the Roy's Report reached out to Daystar for a comment about the story that was getting bigger and bigger. And beyond just termination, Daystar tried to undercut Jonathan too, lowering his salary, putting a GPS tracker on him, and hiring a private investigator to monitor his family members. Those tougher tactics make it look like the institution was going hard to shield itself from scandal. By describing the claims as mainly driven by greed and authority, Daystar focused on isolating Jonathan rather than actually dealing with the real worries that were raised. At the same time, while all this public posture was happening, family members like Rebecca and JW were managing their own complicated standing. And, privately, they confirmed that the allegations should be taken seriously. The investigation's slow pace and the institution's defensive stance created this gap between what was officially being said and what some people seemed to believe. That mismatch made things heavier emotionally for everyone involved, because the questions never really stop. like whether justice was delayed on purpose through secrecy and careful avoidance. In the end, the whole case didn't just show the struggle to uncover facts. It also showed how hard it is to confront powerful families and institutions that don't want to fully expose the truth, or at least not in the open way it should be. Ultimately, the stall and then the revival of the investigation point to the stubborn reality of chasing accountability in places where silence and protection often win out over transparency and truth. It also set up the broader look at the rival narratives sitting right at the center of this controversy. The discord between public messaging and private conviction culminated in a striking divergence that shook the foundations of the ministry's credibility. Public versus private narratives. Daystar Television Network publicly responded to the allegations with a clear and forceful denial. The ministry described Jonathan Lamb's claims as a smear campaign designed to damage the organization and its leadership. Joni Lamb also claimed the accusations were fabricated and motivated by Jonathan's frustration over promotions he had allegedly been denied. This united public response projected confidence, but private discussions revealed a far more divided family. Behind closed doors, Rebecca Lamb Weiss reportedly told police that she believed the allegations against Josh Brown could be true. Her private position sharply contradicted the public message promoted by the ministry, where she continued to work. Rebecca said her instincts, information contained in a letter written by her husband, J.W. Weiss, and concerns raised by a family housekeeper supported her doubts. Josh Brown has consistently denied the allegations. He reportedly passed 2 forensic polygraph examinations, was never charged, and the investigation was closed in May 2025.
Josh Brown denied those allegations. He said directly and on the record in a documented police interview that he never touched their daughter in an inappropriate way. His attorney was present. His denial was documented.
Because authorities found insufficient evidence and the child did not make a formal statement to police. These facts complicate the story, showing the difference between the absence of criminal charges and the continuing suspicions surrounding the case. Daystar continued broadcasting sermons and requesting donations, but did not publicly address the private concerns reportedly shared by Rebecca, J.W., or the housekeeper. Police interviews also suggested that details surrounding the allegations may have been widely known within the family, potentially including Joni. The contrast is striking. Publicly, the claims were dismissed as lies, while privately, some insiders appeared to believe they deserved serious investigation. This conflict reveals how loyalty, reputation, faith, and accountability can collide within powerful institutions. Rebecca's statements and JW's questions to police showed a family struggling beneath a carefully controlled public image. Until these contradictions are openly addressed, the divide between Daystar's official narrative and the private beliefs of its insiders will continue shaping the family, the ministry, and the public's trust. This schism between what is said aloud and what is known quietly is a defining element of this family's heartbreaking story. The aftermath and unanswered questions. The closure of the police investigation in May 2025 marked an uncertain turning point for the Lamb family and Daystar Television Network. Authorities cited insufficient evidence, noting that the child had not made a formal statement to law enforcement, but the case's closure did not end the controversy. The allegations remain unresolved publicly, leaving serious questions about accountability, transparency, and the ministry's future. Rebecca Lamb Weiss's private statement to police added another layer to the family conflict. Although she remained publicly quiet and continued working at Daystar, she reportedly told investigators that she believed the allegations. Her words challenged claims that Jonathan Lamb had invented the situation and revealed how divided the family had become behind closed doors. For Rachel Lamb Brown, Rebecca's sister and the wife of Josh Brown, the situation remains especially complicated. Rachel and Rebecca appeared together at their mother Joni's memorial, showing no public sign of disagreement. Their silence demonstrated how family loyalty, love, and reputation can collide with private doubts during a scandal. Daystar has also been dealing with growing scrutiny. The network keeps broadcasting sermons and doing fundraising, but it still hasn't said anything in public about the reported family divisions, nor has it given straight, clear answers about who leads it and how the allegations were handled. That quietness could end up making the gap wider between the ministry's public face and what family members allegedly understood behind closed doors. Susie Lamb has said the case might be reopened if her daughter is ready to talk again, so this legal chapter might not be finished for good. Fresh testimony or new evidence could still shift how the whole investigation goes, even after what looked like a close. In the meantime, Jonathan carries on talking about the controversy through the Lamb podcast, even with family estrangement, professional setbacks, and being kept away from his mother's final days. So, in the end, it's still not settled. It suggests how silence, misplaced loyalty, and institutional power can mess with the search for truth. Real accountability and healing will take courage, openness, and the willingness to face painful questions that an official closure cannot just erase. Rebecca and Rachel's story reveals the devastating impact silence can have within families and ministries. Hidden truths can fracture relationships, test faith, and leave lasting wounds. If this investigation opened your eyes, like and subscribe for more stories that deserve to be heard. And don't stop here. Watch the next video appearing on your screen to uncover another shocking chapter in this unfolding story.